Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I'll bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
Welcome to the First Light Podcast with excerpts from our Wednesday, May 26th radio broadcast. I'm Michael Toscano. Midweek already, Wednesday, and things are happening. We now know when Joe Biden's first meeting as President of the United States will be with Russia's Vladimir Putin. A summit has been scheduled to take place in June. We'll spend some time exploring that this morning. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has finally acted on the latest controversial remarks from a certain member of his caucus who thrives on controversy. George Floyd's family was in Washington yesterday, an event designed to not only mark 1 year since they lost their family member, but also to prod Congress to act on police reform legislation. You'll hear about that. Later on, Amazon is cracking down on some big sellers for managing to fake those consumer reviews. Just can't seem to trust anything anymore. That and the usual mix of money, movies, sports, and weather all ahead to get us ready for the day which begins at First Light. Let's start with a look at the Floyd family in Washington as we bring in national correspondent Clayton Neville. Clayton?
Michael, bells tolled outside churches in some of America's biggest cities in remembrance of George Floyd, a year to the day after Derek Chauvin planted his knee on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes before Floyd died. In Minneapolis, a celebration in Floyd's honor.
Keys to the door to freedom. Keys to the door to freedom.
Floyd's family spent yesterday in the nation's capital. His brother Phalonis and other relatives met with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris in the Oval Office for over an hour.
It was great. He's a genuine guy. They always speak from the heart, and it's a pleasure just to be able to have the chance to meet with him when we have that opportunity too.
The president had set a goal of passing the proposed George Floyd Justice and Policing Act before yesterday's anniversary, but that didn't happen. The president, though, still optimistic the job will get done. He said likely after Memorial Day. Floyd's nephew, Brandon Williams, spoke with the president about the progress being made.
And he did let us know that he supports passing the bill, but he wants to make sure that it's the right bill and not a rush bill.
The family and their attorney, Benjamin Crump, visited with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle about the bill, including Republican Senators Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott.
Senator Scott said it would be named the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And I know when the family said, would it be meaningful? He said, yes, it will, because it's something that he has personally dealt with, being profiled because of the color of his skin.
The proposed bill would ban chokeholds and create a database of officers with disciplinary problems. The key holdup appears to be qualified immunity. Democrats want to eliminate the protection of officers from civil lawsuits. Republicans have instead proposed allowing police departments to be sued, but not specific officers. While the details are still being hashed out, Crump touted achievements made since Floyd's death in the fight against social injustice.
We have to make sure we don't squander this opportunity.
While it's now been a year since a nation was rocked by Floyd's killing and police reform legislation is still in the works, there's a sense of bipartisan confidence that a deal will get done. I'm Clayton Neville. Michael?
Pressure continues to build on the House Republican leadership to do something about wayward member Marjorie Taylor Greene. Capitol Hill correspondent Linda Kenyon is with us now, reporting that leadership has offered condemnation, but no action.
Michael? It's been several days since Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene attacked House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for requiring members of the House to continue wearing masks on the House floor.
You know, we can look back in a time in history where people were told to wear a gold star, and they were definitely treated like second-class citizens, so much so that they were put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. And this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about.
It's time for Marjorie Taylor Greene to be expelled from Congress.
That was the immediate response from Joel Rubin, the executive director of the American Jewish Congress, who was interviewed on CNN's State of the Union.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is trafficking in hate speech. She is trivializing the Holocaust. She is conducting dog whistles to the far right to raise money, to raise our political power, to bias our politics into a place of hate.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was shocked by Greene's comparison to the Holocaust.
It's so beyond reprehensible that it has no place in our country.
But Greene doubled down.
Any rational Jewish person didn't like what happened in Nazi Germany, and any rational Jewish person doesn't like what's happening with overbearing mask mandates and overbearing vaccine policies.
Fellow Republicans don't like what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying.
I don't even have words to describe how disappointing it is to see this hyperbolic speech that frankly amps up and plays into a lot of the anti-Semitism that we've been seeing.
That's Peter Meyer, a freshman Republican from Michigan. As for the leadership, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy defended Greene earlier this year when she was removed from committee assignments for incendiary rhetoric, but he called her latest comments wrong and appalling. And the spokesperson for the number 2 House Republican, Representative Steve Scalise, said in her words, he does not agree with these comments and condemns these comparisons to the Holocaust. McCarthy and Scalise broke their silence only after Greene tweeted on Tuesday, this time comparing vaccination efforts to the Holocaust. And when reprimanded by the McCarthy statement, Greene struck back, retweeting and then quickly deleting a post calling McCarthy, in her words, a moron and feckless. She followed the word feckless with something much stronger, something I can't say on the radio. Linda Kenyon, Washington.
Memorial Day this weekend, the official start to summer, of course, but it seems like summer's here today for some of us. Let's get more on that from AccuWeather meteorologist Carl Babinski. Carl?
Michael, today we do expect some storms to fire up in the northeast interior. These should begin to form early this afternoon in northern New England and western New York. Many of the big cities along the coast, along the I-95 corridor, probably won't be impacted until very late this afternoon or this evening, but it's going to be a hot day for much of the Mid-Atlantic region. You may remember in cities like Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington how hot it was this past weekend. Well, it cooled down quite a bit. Now today, temperatures will be soaring into the low 90s again, and it will become more humid. So this combination of hot, humid air being intersected by a strong cool front will trigger some strong thunderstorms by day's end. Yesterday, there were a few strong storms located in western Wisconsin, most of them Tuesday evening. Today, that front pushing across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast will be the catalyst to cause some very strong storms. The good news in Texas is that we're not expecting a widespread outbreak of storms today, and in southeast Texas, an area which has been hit so hard by heavy rain the last week or so, not much rain is expected. Heat continues to build in the southeastern United States as a ridge of high pressure, a dome of high pressure, remains anchored over Georgia and the Carolinas. So rain chances very low in the southeast today, and also much of the west will be dry with temperatures mostly in the 90s and triple digits in parts of interior Southern California. It'll even be warm in interior parts of the Pacific Northwest. So, Michael, today some strong storms are expected in the Northeast. Have a great day.
Thank you, Carl. Correspondent Kathy Foster tells us now about another milestone reached in fighting the coronavirus.
At a briefing Tuesday, White House senior COVID-19 advisor Andy Slavitt touting significant progress in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic.
Today, the U.S. will hit 50% of adult Americans that are fully vaccinated.
And that indicates President Joe Biden's July 4th vaccination goal of 70% may be in reach. 9 states report they've surpassed the milestone with 70% fully inoculated. A number of Americans, however, remain hesitant about getting the vaccine, especially in southern states which report the lowest vaccination rates like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Arkansas. White House senior COVID-19 advisor Andy Slavitt says efforts are in the works to offer a wide range of incentives.
So people may say all of this is frivolous. I say anything that ends the pandemic, it's time for us to pull out now.
CDC Director Rochelle Walensky offered this advice as we head into the Memorial Day holiday weekend.
If you are vaccinated, you are protected, and you can enjoy your Memorial Day. If you are not vaccinated, our guidance has not changed for you. You remain at risk of infection. You still need to mask and take other precautions.
In Washington, I'm Kathy Foster.
Thanks, Kathy. Memorial Day begins the summer travel season, and acting TSA Administrator Darby LaJoy says domestic air travel is returning to pre-pandemic levels.
We have already seen a sharp rise at the nation's airports and will continue to experience steady increases throughout the summer. Many airports have already returned or exceeded to 2019 pre-pandemic levels.
On Wall Street, stock futures showed modest gains overnight after the market rally stalled yesterday. Robert Workman's here with all the rockin' and rollin' in the NBA playoffs. Robert?
Michael, NBA playoffs on Tuesday. The Nets rolled over the Celtics 130-108 for a 2-0 series lead. Kevin Durant had 26 points. Joe Harris, 25. He hit a franchise record-tying 7 3-pointers. Lakers eclipsed the Suns 109-102 to level that series at 1-1. Anthony Davis said he would have to play better than he did in Game 1. He did. 34 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 blocks. And the Mavericks beat the Clippers 127-121. They take both games in L.A. A 17-5 spurt in the third quarter gave the Mavs the upper hand. Luka Doncic had 39 for Dallas. Kawhi Leonard scored 41 in the loss for the Clips. NHL playoffs, the Hurricanes nipped the Predators 3-2 in overtime to take a 3-2 lead in that Central Division series. Jordan Staal ended it 144 into extra time. And in the North, the Maple Leafs shut down the Canadiens 4-0 for a 3-1 edge. Jack Campbell made 32 saves for his first playoff shutout. Baseball, the Royals end the Rays' 11-game winning streak with a 2-1 victory. Brad Keller and the Helens held Tampa to 4 hits. Carlos Santana went deep. Salvador Perez had the clutch hit to drive home the winning run. Rich Hill took the loss despite 13 strikeouts in 8 innings. Blue Jays battered the Yankees 6-2. That ends their 6-game run. Vladimir Guerrero hit his league-leading 16th homer, 1 of 3 for Toronto. Ex-Met Steven Matz struck out 10 in his return to New York, while Corey Kluber exited after just 3 innings with shoulder tightness in his first start since his no-hitter. Mets over the Rockies 3-1. Jacob deGrom fanned 9 in 5 innings on his return from the injured list. Tomas Nido with a 2-run torpedo. Braves down the Red Sox 3-1. Charlie Morton shook off some first-inning trouble to strike out 9 over 7 innings of 3-hit ball. Padres pounced on the Brewers 7-1. Joe Musgrove and the Oranges combined on a 2-hitter with 13 strikeouts. San Diego stole 6 bases for the second time this year. Indians thumped the Tigers 4-1. Aaron Savali took a shutout into the ninth. He's the first 7-game winner in the American League. Phillies blanked the Marlins 2-0. Vince Velasquez and the Invincibles scattered 5 hits. Giants drove the Diamondbacks 8-0. Kevin Gausman and the Gas Company struck out 15. 9 losses in a row for Arizona. Twins topped the Orioles 7-4. 8 straight on the downside for Baltimore. Dodgers drilled the Astros 9-2. Clayton Kershaw pitched into the 8th for his 7th win. Angels roughed up the Rangers 11-5. Shohei Ohtani's 15th dinger capped a 6-run 4th. Cubs rallied past the Pirates 4-3. Mariners held off the A's 4-3. Reds shaded the Nationals 2-1. And the White Sox whacked the Cardinals 8-3. Jose Abreu homered and drove in 4. Umpire Joe West worked behind the plate in his 5,376th regular season Major League game. If that sounds like a lot, it passes the all-time record set by Bill Clem in 1941. That's Wednesday Sports.
First Light continues on a Wednesday morning. We are already at midweek as we pause, gather up ourselves to welcome in Mr. Kevin Carr with a look at Second Chance Home Cinema. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Michael. The first one that is rising to the top of the choices right now is a new film that came out in theaters a couple months ago. It's called Chaos Walking. It stars Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland as people on a planet who can hear the thoughts of other men, but only men can hear the thoughts. A woman, played by Daisy Ridley, is not able. They can't hear her thoughts. It's based on a sci-fi piece for kids, so it's not terribly well done, but it was an interesting movie. But that's going to be your new one out there. But like we've had in the last several weeks, the really cool stuff is coming out to the vintage titles, which are getting re-released either in collector's edition or 4K, or just getting a re-release on its own, including Joe Dante's Explorers, which is about these kids that build their own spaceship and go exploring for aliens, or Super 8 in 4K, which is not the most beloved J.J. Abrams movie, but it is probably the most original one you're going to get. They also have My Fair Lady in 4K, and Psycho also is getting a release in 4K. So if you want to catch some classics on the small screen that look as good as they do on the big screen, you can check those out.
You can count the drops in The Rain in Spain and My Fair Lady in 4K now.
That's true.
But, one of the greatest films ever made, Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby, and another one of the greatest films ever made, A Night at the Roxbury. I know that you're a huge fan of that one. And The Saint, which is the sort of middling attempt with Val Kilmer to be the big screen version of the classic TV show. And then The Hand, which is Oliver Stone's one of his early films with Michael Caine fighting his own body.
All right. And you got something from TV. Supernatural has 15 seasons. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a very popular series on the CW about two guys who are brothers who are vanquishing demons across the United States as they drive around in their cool muscle car. The season 15 is available.
All right. Well, Kevin, that's a big list of things for people to look into to buy for themselves. So thanks for bringing it to us.
All right. Thank you.
The Federal Aviation Administration has downgraded its air safety rating for Mexico, prohibiting Mexican carriers from adding any new service to the United States. At the same time, U.S. airlines can no longer sell tickets that are operated by Mexican carriers with the U.S. airline's name on it, something they call code sharing. The FAA is concerned about an insufficient number of inspectors at Mexican carriers. According to the aviation data firm Cirium, there are currently more than 21,000 flights a month scheduled between the United States and Mexico. This is Wednesday on First Light.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I'll bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
So, a summit is now marked on the calendar. In ink, a meeting between President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Lots of anticipation, but will there be any substance? We'll take a look ahead. Right now, though, with her own look ahead at Midweek Morning Money is our friend CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Jess?
Good morning, Michael. Stocks are coming off a flat day, low volume. One expert suggested Wall Street went on vacation ahead of the Memorial Day holiday weekend ahead. The Dow was down 82 points. Investors are watching as reports say a $1 trillion infrastructure counteroffer will be sent by Republicans to the White House this week. Amazon's being sued by the Washington, D.C. Attorney General for illegally raising prices. Turbine producers in focus as the Biden administration unveiled plans for a power-generating wind farm in the Pacific Ocean off California's coast. On today's watch list, it's busy. Earnings from Dick's Sporting Goods, American Eagle Outfitters, Williams-Sonoma, and Abercrombie & Fitch. The CEOs of the biggest banks testify before the Senate Banking Committee on Oversight. Amazon and Facebook each hold their annual shareholder meetings today, and McDonald's begins selling the K-pop group BTS signature meal today. 2 new dipping sauces, too, inspired by McDonald's South Korea recipes. Jessica Ettinger, CNBC.
It's a question many in Washington have been asking for several months. When will President Joe Biden meet with Russia's Vladimir Putin? Well, we now have an answer. June 16 in Geneva. What will these two leaders talk about? Are there any deals in the mix ready to be signed? For answers, let's bring in Amr Madhani, who covers the White House for the Associated Press. Amr, is this being called a summit meeting or something else?
Well, the White House has used the word summit. The word summit and meeting, I guess, are interchangeable. Summit sounds kind of fancy and serious about two world leaders meeting, and this is. It's a big deal. It's the first sit down between these two leaders since Biden's become president. He has sat down with Putin before in the brief period about a decade ago when Putin had stepped away from the presidency and was briefly prime minister of Russia. But it also comes at this really difficult state in the relationship. There's been a series of provocations in the last 4 months overlapping the start of Biden's term, and which, basically a very fraught relationship has just gotten worse.
Right. Well, the United States has just issued sanctions on some Russian officials. Now, I know some folks are saying they didn't go far enough. Is there, was that maybe some punches were pulled in order to make sure this meeting happened?
So, yeah, so there has been 3 rounds, at least 3 rounds of sanctions, including the latest last week involving the building of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are very much against. But after the sanctions that were announced last month in April over election interference and the Solar Winds breach, which was this breach of this private company, but it led to U.S. agencies being impacted. Biden said he told Putin, I could have gone a lot further, but I chose not to. And that was really him sort of putting out the signal, I know we're adversaries, but I want to find some sort of measure of stability and predictability in this relationship going forward.
Well, I wonder if this is the first meeting that Putin is going to have with another world leader who is on record calling him a killer. I mean, how does that work? Do they bring that up? Does Putin tease him about it? How do these two men deal with that?
Well, I'm no criminologist, but I don't think Putin is impacted by that. I imagine Putin might take a little bit of pleasure in that depiction by Biden. At the other, but of course, for public consumption, they were aghast. The Kremlin spokesman, called these comments by President Biden outrageous and suggested that they showed that he isn't serious about improving the relationship.
So it's unusual that if they're using the word summit, that you write that the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki has said no preconditions are set for the meeting. Now, maybe you say that in public to set the expectations lower, which we've seen this president do. He setting expectations lower, and then when things come in higher than that, everything looks much better. But usually you don't have a meeting at this level and call it a summit if you don't know you're going to walk away with something. So is there something that you expect we might see come out of this?
Well, yeah. So it's a good point about this White House has always set the bar low, but at the other end, these summits, they're going to Geneva, which has, it's this historic backdrop. The Reagan Gorbachev summit of 1985, there wasn't a whole lot that came out of that substantively, but that led to a break in the relationship, and that that at least led to these two leaders being on the same level and forming a relationship. I acknowledge that, Gorbachev and Reagan to Biden and Putin isn't quite apples to apples. But I think the expectation and the reality of what they can get out of this is going to be pretty superficial. And I say superficial in that, there's, they see, they want to talk about, what is from the Kremlin standpoint, they're talking about what's the prospects for what U.S. relations even look like, and what are, what is common issues on both countries' agendas. So there are some areas, and so maybe calling it superficial is a little glib.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, and look forward to the pictures of the two leaders standing together. We'll see what their body language, what their body language, tells us about maybe who's enjoyed the meeting and who didn't. Amr Madhani writes for the Associated Press and covers the White House. And thanks for being with us on First Light.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
almost everybody seems to shop on Amazon these days, and you get used to what you're seeing there, and sometimes you're surprised, like, why did this product come up? Why did that product come up? And you may have noticed recently that some big brands on Amazon are not there anymore. Apparently, there's been a purge going on, and it has to do with internet reviews. I want to get to the bottom of this and find out what this means to those of us who shop and do a lot of our shopping online, especially, during the pandemic. So we're joined now by Shira Ovide, who's writing in the New York Times and in her On Tech newsletter about this subject, about Amazon and internet reviews, and she's joining us now. Thanks for being with us on First Light.
Very glad to be here.
So tell me about these brands that disappeared. What happened?
Right. So around the end of April, all of a sudden, a number of very large sellers of products on Amazon suddenly got suspended by the company. And most Amazon shoppers probably have never heard of these companies. These are very big vendors in China that happen to sell a large volume of products on Amazon. So if you've ever bought the first phone charger or Bluetooth headphones that you saw searching on Amazon, it might have come from one of these now suspended merchants on Amazon. And the company hasn't been super specific about it, but what appears to have happened is these companies for a long time have been manipulating reviews, customer reviews that, you and I and lots of other people probably use to help inform what we should buy on Amazon. And the issue is these companies have probably been cheating at the review system for quite some time, making it seem like these are genuine reviews from customers who left these reviews without any kind of solicitation or input from the companies. That appears to have not been true for a long time. And Amazon now is taking action against those sellers in what experts told me was a very unprecedented step.
So I would assume the manipulation would take the form of the companies paying somebody to go online, purchase the product, and then write a review, because otherwise they would not be listed as certified purchasers. Would that be how that works?
Generally, the way that review fraud or bogus reviews happen is the merchant will solicit in some way a customer and say, if you leave a 5-star review on Amazon on this product, we will pay you, we will give you the product for free or another product for free. And that's against Amazon's rules because it's considered sort of not genuine if you're getting compensated in some way to leave a glowing review.
Mm-hmm. So, we've heard about this in the past. It seems to have been a problem for a while. So why now? Why is Amazon doing this now? Was there some kind of pressure on them?
There's a few possibilities. One is that recently there was this antivirus research company that discovered this trove, this database that had leaked online of merchants, mostly in China, that were basically collaborating on buying reviews, literally millions and millions of reviews. And that came to light just before this Amazon suspension. So it's possible that Amazon saw that information and took action. Another possibility that a publication called Recode reported was that the Federal Trade Commission, which investigates and regulates deceptive marketing, that they noticed review fraud on Amazon and pressured the company to take action. The other possibility is that Amazon found this on its own. But again, the issue here is that these merchants appear to have been breaking the rules about manipulated reviews for a long time. And only now did the company appear to do something in large volume about it.
Well, I will confess that I have frequently not made a purchase because of the reviews, and because there might be some specific comments that I might look for, like something I was concerned about with the product. Does it do this or that? And if I see, a few negative comments, I might just move on to something else. So how do we know if what we're reading is factual or not?
Yeah, to me, this is one of these big issues of trust on the internet, that you're not alone, that a lot of people who buy stuff on Amazon or who look at Yelp reviews or who look at movie reviews on Rotten Tomatoes were persuaded by reviews, because that's the whole premise of the internet, right? This is the wisdom of the masses. And maybe one or two reviews are off base, but in aggregate, we want to see what our fellow consumers, fellow people feel about a product or service. And the issue that there's just so many ways to game the system of reviews. Again, whether it's on Amazon or another website, that it's really hard to trust anything we see online. And to me, this is one of these fundamental flaws of the internet, that we need to have systems where we can trust feedback that we see. And we simply cannot, because there's just too many financial incentives to cheat.
So, it sounds as if now, if we can't trust reviews, now the only word we have is the manufacturer, which of course may not be, while it probably wouldn't be false, it may not be full information. So, what do we do?
It's a great question. There really isn't an awesome alternative, right, to internet reviews of products on Amazon or any shopping or really any service website. I'll tell you that one thing that I've fallen back on, particularly in the last couple of years, as I've gotten more informed about all these ways to game reviews, is I look for recommendations from people I know, so word of mouth, or from experts, right?
Mm-hmm. And maybe one of those resources would be the On Tech newsletter that you write.
I can't say that we give too many product recommendations in On Tech, but yes, definitely to toot our own horn, read New York Times product recommendations.
All right. Shira Ovide writes the On Tech newsletter, and you can read her story, Amazon's Great Purge, at the New York Times online. And Shira, thanks for being with us on First Light.
Thank you so much.
And that's the First Light podcast with excerpts from our Wednesday, May 26th radio broadcast. Thanks to producer TJ Cutini. I'm Michael Toscano. Check out our full show on the air at one of America's great radio stations near you every weekday morning. And come back here for the First Light podcast.